What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake MLB DFS Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I have a question from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on the social media platforms listed above or directly at WiseTake.com. If you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Go check us out at WiseTake.com. Day passes available, all that shit. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Came to the right place for some free MLB DFS content. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the video, make sure notifications bell are turned on so you don't miss out on any of the free content we do Monday through Friday. What's happening? Happy 420. It's 420, and DraftKings and FanDuel decided to pull a little prank on the old. Really, DraftKings trying to pull a prank on the old 420 celebrators by giving us a 13-game slate that starts at 6:30. Well, FanDuel, it's rare that I agree with FanDuel, but FanDuel, I think they made the right choice by just doing the slate at 7. NBA locks at 7:30, so they decided to join the party. But they're doing everybody a favor, right? Starting a little bit later, give everybody some time in case they're, not as clear as they normally are. I mean, it's the only way I'm clear. But anyway, I think that, I think DraftKings trying to troll everybody. 13-game slate on 420, starting at 6:30. Craziness. But anyway, we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna do what we do and break down this massive MLB slate for DraftKings. Obviously, we will cover FanDuel as well. The pool is smaller, both in pitchers, players in general, because there's fucking like half the games or whatever the case is. A lot of fucking games, man. A lot of games on DraftKings. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get things rolling. Thanks to our projection piece here, we can see who's on FanDuel and who's not. Corbin Burnes is on both sites. Corbin Burnes looking like the top option. Definitely the top cash game option, the top tournament option. I know it's against the Padres. I don't care when it comes to talented pitchers, especially in a game base where strikeouts are so important. I'm going to ride the talented pitchers, and I think that on this particular slate, even though it's against San Diego, I think we ride Corbin Burnes. Dude's got some really nasty stuff, man. You can see last year 2.11 ERA, 2.99 xFIP, 3.18 SIERA, 36.7% K rate. I mean, let's go. Let's do it. He's getting a park boost out in San Diego. Nobody plays in Miller Park. Something to keep in mind. I don't know what else to say. I mean, for leverage, what we did, in my core plays article at WiseTake.com, I'm trying to incorporate leverage for people. I know that's a hot topic with baseball. Some people say there's no such thing as leverage. We're gonna just use that term because I think that people can understand it better when you explain whether you believe that's the way it should be described or not. I think that people will kind of understand. If I say leverage stack, it's easier for me to explain to you that the reason people call it a leverage stack, whether you agree with it or not, is because we know that there's going to be a lot of ownership on said pitcher. And while there is a world where said pitcher doesn't do well and the stack doesn't do well, the ultimate leverage would be that all those people that played that pitcher obviously did not have that stack. So if the stack does do well, you're jumping over that much more of the field. Not just going over the pitchers, the people who roster the pitchers against that stack, but you're going, far and above. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going negative 15. You're going you see what I'm saying? So regardless of if you think that should be the proper term or if technically it's the right term or not, I think it's just easier to explain to people. So anyway, Padres would be one of your leverage stacks. And I mean, listen, it's a tempting one. On a 13-game slate, I don't typically feel like I have to rely on leverage. Even on FanDuel, the slate's big enough. Like I usually look for that on smaller slates. Like last night, we went ahead and stacked some Rangers. right? The Cardinals, shout out to them. They were in there. They were in the article. We did like the Cardinals. We talked about on the show last night about how Ross was kind of due to get lit up. And, he's not that good. I told you guys about when I went to the game and Lucas Duda double donged and all this. Good times. Anyway. So that came through. But we did talk about the Rangers in the article about how they would be leveraged against Bundy. I mean, you had a pitcher Bundy who was going to be massively owned on DraftKings. Like 50%. He ended up being higher owned than Musgrove. 50% owned. And granted, this is not a knock on Bundy. I think he's got good strikeout stuff, and in the right circumstance, we can certainly look to use him. My issue was more that he's a guy that's been known to struggle with lefties, and the Rangers are extremely left-handed. So it just made sense to me that we at least gave it a shot, right? Anyway, Corbin Burnes, top option. Chris Paddock is the second most expensive player on DraftKings. He's 6'9" on FanDuel, so I think this is one of the more polarizing spots. This would be some leverage I'd be interested in on FanDuel. I do think on FanDuel he's going to be somewhat popular. And the slate's smaller, so if you want to try it one way, maybe try it with Paddock. This is a guy that I think, we had a lot of high expectations of, but the more we see him, the more we're realizing. And this is a dude that was pissed because Pete Alonso was like Rookie of the Month over him 1 month or some shit, and he felt like he should have gotten it. I think Paddock is a decent pitcher. But at the end of the day, he's really a two-pitch pony, man. This dude throws over 60% fastballs, and then he throws a changeup. Once in a while, we're talking like 10%, regardless of his lefty or righty. He'll throw a curveball. But for the most part, he's just fastball changeup. And so if you think about it, at some point, you would think major league players are going to adjust to him, right? And I think that's kind of what we've seen. So I think that on DraftKings, Paddock should be low owned because he's so close to Corbin Burnes' price. But on FanDuel, I do think that people are going to try to, we got cores on this slate and shit. So I think people are going to try to get slick and pitch Paddock. I don't think I'm that interested. I really don't. On FanDuel, if I'm going to try it anywhere, it'll be there. Right? 6,900, you're getting something. But I don't know. I don't feel great about that one. That makes me a little nervous. You know what I mean? A little nervous. My man, Zach Wheels. Good ground ball rates. He's playing the Giants team. The Giants have crushed me all season, man. I keep on rolling with them because they're the park boost and all these things, but they have not shown me any love back, man. And that's discouraging when you show a lot of love towards a team and they just don't show it to you back, man. A team that not a lot of people think are good, and it's not about me thinking they're good. I'm not gonna say it, but from a fantasy perspective, they got some players. They do got some players. Curious to see how Wheels has done against the Giants. Now, Wheels is coming off 2 bad starts in a row, right? Atlanta gave up 3 earned runs, only went 4 2/3. Against the Mets, he gave up 3 earned runs, 10 hits, which on DraftKings hurts you a little bit. Did have 6 Ks, but ultimately put up a 13. So that's not cutting it. Now, his price has gone up since that point. He's done well against the Giants previously. Again, this is a park boost for the Giants. We want to keep that in mind. I think Wheels is a fine tournament pivot. I don't think there's anything too crazy that's attracting me into him. I do think his 18% K rate is I mean, according to everything else, it looks like it's lower than what it should be. But now we're bleeding into this season, and he's still having the same kind of issue. His strikeouts just aren't getting there, so maybe that's just what he is. Jameson Taillon, I still think has no business being 9-2. He's not on the FanDuel slate. We'll eventually get this year's stats popped in here, but the samples are a little too small. Taillon had a couple really good first games. The Yankees are struggling, man. The Yankees are struggling hard. So all the Yankee haters out there are celebrating. But so far this season, Taillon did all right against Baltimore, right? Then Toronto came, and he got lit up at Toronto. I'm just not totally sold on this guy. You know what I mean? He's playing Atlanta, too, a really good offense, and this game's in Yankee Stadium, one of the better hitting parks in the game. Braves looking pretty juicy. Now, that's a DraftKings only deal, right? But the Braves looking pretty good, man. I don't think I have interest in Taillon. At this point, I got to find somebody that's either I'm saving a lot of money from with like a pair with Burnes, or he's got to be better than Burnes, or give me the potential, and I haven't seen that so far. Zach Gallen is going to be playing in Cincinnati, not a good park. I think Gallen's a very good pitcher. I don't think he's untouchable by any stretch, and he's playing a pretty tough team. I think the Reds' offense is pretty tough, you know. Curious, though, as to what he's done. So, okay, on the 13th, he did make his first against Oakland. So, on the 13th of April, he went 4 innings, throwing 82 pitches, 8 Ks, 2 walks, a home run, a run, 3 hits against. So, not bad. 82 pitches through 4 innings. That's rough, right? The walks, 2 walks I got to him. The strikeouts, maybe he labored a little bit, which caused his strikeouts to kind of hurt his pitch count. 82 pitches, he could have gone to 5 innings, right? But it sounds at this rate, he would have pretty much been at the 100 pitch part right after the 5th inning, right? So, but he did look good. It was at home against Oakland. He's playing a Cincinnati team where there are strikeouts to be had. The problem is the park is really small, and these guys, when they do make contact, have even more ability to get it out of there. But I am a believer in Gallen. I do think he's actually good. The walks could be a thing. That's something that over his young career, he struggled with. 10% walk rate to righties, 9% to lefties. That's not good. And he does give up a lot of hard contact, and he gives up a lot of fly balls to righties. So if you plan on attacking him, the righties are the ones who hit it in the air. That being said, he also strikes out more righties. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think he's a good pitcher. I really do. What's his price? 89. I'm still not saving quite enough. I wouldn't mind pairing him with Burns a little bit, but on a slate this big, you would think that there'd be some cheaper guys we can come across, get a similar result. But I do think Gallen is a good pitcher overall. I just don't know how he fits on this slate. Hyunjin Ryu, 2.69 ERA, 3.32 xFIP. Another one, man, real solid. Good ground ball rates. He's playing Boston. On FanDuel at 9.7. It's tough. 8.7 on DraftKings. He's, a little cheaper than Gallen. So we're in that territory where we can start to consider guys to pair with Gallen if that's what we want to do. One thing about Boston is, while we don't expect them to be as good, this particular team, especially against lefties, they don't strike out. Well, here's what I want to say. If we go back to 2019 to now, the strikeout rates are pretty low. So they were a team that didn't strike out a lot before. If we change the sample size from 2020 to now, which granted last year was reduced in a weird season, the strikeout rates went up dramatically. Guys like Hunter Renfroe, who didn't really strike out much, all of a sudden last year struck out a pretty good amount. Rafael Devers, Verdugo, some of these guys that had lower strikeout rates to begin with. And granted, now in 2019, we did have like a different team here. Right? We had Mookie Betts. We had like a different situation. But point being is that Boston does strike out a little bit more than they have in years past. Going back to last year until now, bleeding that information in. So I think Ryu's on the table. Ground ball rates are good. At the same time, I'm not doing backflips to play him. Well, what is he getting me? 8.7 is kind of expensive to pair with a 10.8 pitcher on DraftKings, and 9.7, I'm not saving enough money to sacrifice what I think the floor and upside is of Corbin Burns. Charlie Morton plays the Yankees, man. So he's had to have played the Yankees a few times. I mean, the Yankees are struggling right now. I know I keep saying it, and watch today be the day they wake up out of this, but they've been struggling. He's got some playoff experience against the Yankees. His history is kind of up and down. For the most part, he's done fairly well against them. But again, at the end of the day, at a certain point, you expect things to regress or progress to their average. But at the same time, you still want to ride the hot streaks in the meantime, right? It's like when you play Baccarat or even roulette, those kind of games. Like a lot of times people will see 8 or 9 blacks, right? And they're like, oh, I'm betting red because they just think like it's got to happen. Law of averages tells me that it's due. However, while that may be true at some point, and you look for you see 2 reds in a row, now you start riding the reds because you knew it was coming. In the moment, you want to ride the streak, so you keep betting black until it does finally lose. Maybe even lose twice, because at the moment it's hot. So you don't want to fade what's hot to try to get ahead of it, because you don't know when that's coming. What you want to do is be able to adapt. So you want to ride the streak and then adapt once it's different, right? You try it once, okay, didn't work out. Try it twice, okay, didn't work out. Maybe it's switching. Let's try the other way. You got to be able to adapt, man. In life and gambling and everything, man. Adapt. But anyway, not a great park. 8,100 is now we're in that range where I'm starting to okay, I guess this is actually a decent savings, right? If Morton does do well. Problem is he's playing a tough team. Granted, they've been sucking pretty hard. In a tough park, Yankee Stadium, one of the best hitter parks in the game. But I think Morton's in play for sure. I do. Erod. Man, shout out to Erod for making his return. Last year, scary shit. He caught COVID, and then he got some kind of, enlarged heart or some shit like that, they said. That's some scary shit, man. So good to see Erod back, feeling healthy enough to play. I think I think they've been a little cautious with him, but he's had 2 starts, right? 79 and 76 pitches. He's gone 5 innings in both with that limited pitch count. He's been actually really on, and he's been on the road. 7 Ks in 5 innings against Baltimore, 5 and 5 innings against Minnesota. He's been on, and the thing about Toronto is I'm pretty sure they've been striking out a little more to lefties. Yeah, they've been striking out a little bit more to lefties. They got some power. Don't get it twisted. Randall Grichuk, Vlad, Semien, even Gurriel. Like, a lot of these guys have some really strong ISOs against lefties. But they do strike out a lot. With the exception of Vlad Guerrero, 17.1%, and Grichuk at 18.2%. Everybody else is over 21%. And Bichette, first of all, Bichette's got a 125 ISO and a 302 WOBA. Second of all, 33.3% strikeout rate. You would expect that to change over the course of his career, right? But maybe he's just a guy that prefers to hit righties. A little roll reverse splits action. So I'd be inclined to try Erod on DraftKings. My issue, of course, is the pitch count thing, 70-something pitches, and obviously he's at home in a hitter-friendly park. So I want to keep those in mind. Manaea's coming off a good game against Detroit. He's at home once again in a very good pitching park, playing the Twins, another team that at one time were known to not strike out, but based off the dynamics, the changes they've made, it's certainly a lot more strikeout heavy these days. Let's take a look at the Twins. What was it? Was it supposed to be Luzardo today? Is it Luzardo today? Am I tripping? No, I'm seeing Manaea. Right? Let me just make sure. I got a couple different sources telling me erroneous. One of them's telling me erroneous information. It's Manaea. Okay. Either way, it was lefty, but it's Manaea. So the Twins. The Twins have been really bad against lefties for quite some time. I don't really know why. Doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me, but last year they were really bad against lefties. Nelson Cruz, obviously, we always say it, death taxes and Nelson Cruz against lefties. He's a fine one-off, I think, even in this park. 400 ISO, 555 WOBA, 10% K rate. But everybody else, man, just really bad. Even Sano, 40% K rate against lefties, 138 ISO. It's bad, man. It's bad. So I think Manaea's in play. I'm not a big Manaea guy. I think he's decent. I don't think he's great though. I don't think he's no ace. You know what I mean? But I don't think he himself has great strikeout stuff. But I think that the opponent could play that way for him. I respect his ground ball rates. I think he's a respectable pitcher. But I don't think I'm saving enough money to really feel comfortable coming here. And the thing about Manaea is because he's a decent pitcher and he doesn't rely so much on strikeouts. Like, he could go distance. So he's got that potential. But, I mean, what are we looking at? We're not going to have fucking 26 pitchers in our pool, right? We got to make some cuts and get things a little more defined, right? If we want to win anything. Jake Arrieta against my New York Mets. Jake Arrieta, 5.08 ERA. Looks like he was a little bit better than that indicates. Another one that's just not big on strikeouts. Likes to live life on edge with the BABIP, batting average balls in play. Likes to ride that way. This is a guy that has struggled with lefties more so than righties. Gives up a lot of hard contact, but again, his ground ball rates have kind of bailed him out from time to time. The Mets have a lot of lefties they can throw at him. Nimmo, Lindor, Dom Smith, McNeil, Conforto, a lot of lefties they can throw at him. The Mets also can strike out with the best of them. And we're in Wrigley. We do have a little weather to factor. It's not so much the wind, right? Not so much the wind as much as it's the temperatures. It's going to be cold as hell. Oh, also, going back to the Twins coming off a layoff, man. They had a few games canceled due to COVID. Keep that in mind. Anyway, we were talking about the Mets. Here we go. Yeah, so 38 degrees, 5-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. 38 degrees. That's cold, man. It's not great baseball weather. Not great. I'm sure in Chicago they can deal with it. They're used to that cold shit. And in New York, too, we get cold, too. But like Chicago gets cold and wind, and their cold is worse than our cold. It is. Not interested in Arrieta. I could get down on the Mets, but, with as big of a slate as this is, we would think we'd find some more attractive spots. Luis Garcia in cores for Houston. Take a look at this. Massive total, as you would expect. Let's see what kind of samples we got on this dude. Our friend here, Garcia. So as you can see, with very small samples from last year, 2.92 ERA, 5.22 xFIP, 182 BABIP. Doesn't have a particularly good ground ball rate. Gives up a lot of hard contact. This looks like a really good spot for the Rockies. It does. It does. This dude's a little wild. 12.1% walk rate. Fortunately for him, the Rockies aren't a big walking team. Now, what's interesting is while he had a 19.8% K rate, he did have a 12.2% swinging strike rate. Big time split differences against lefties. I mean, massive. Big fly ball numbers, as we mentioned. Looks like a majority of his hard contact rate comes from lefties. 17% K rate to lefties opposed to 22 to righties. A lot of lefties on this team, man, if they want to go that route. Tapia, McMahon, Blackman, Hilliard, Nunez. They have a lot of lefties they can throw at them. Are they the best lefties in the world? Not necessarily, but there are a lot of lefties. The Rockies look pretty solid here. And I know it's, I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm not giving any hot takes. It's Coors Field and yada, yada, yada. But, yeah, man, I don't know. Rockies look pretty good here. They look pretty good. Matt Shoemaker pitching for the Twins against Oakland. He could take advantage of his park, for sure. I've never been a big Shoemaker guy either. This slate is making me talk more about people I don't really want to talk about. So, is this Twins game part of a doubleheader? Is that why I'm seeing this confusion? Because that's kind of a big deal. 6:30. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the Twins game is a doubleheader. All right, I'm glad I checked. So we've got Shoemaker and Manaea going. This game's only going to be 7 innings. So that's something to keep in mind for the pitchers, right? Because on DraftKings, even if the game's only 7 innings, you do get credit for a complete game, shutout, all that shit if your pitcher does it in 7 innings. That's a pretty big advantage. So I would lean more towards Manaea for that. But still something that people should take note of. I mean, it's got to be the only one. It's late, so 6:30 and 10 are some late ones. Yes, indeedy. That being said, Oakland can strike out with the best of them. They do have a pretty good offense overall, man. They got some numbers there. They got some power. They do got some power. Shoemaker gives up a lot of hard contact, a lot. Against righties, his ground ball rate's respectable. Gives up a lot to lefties. I think Matt Olson's interesting. Lowry's been fucking phenomenal, man. He claims the Mets didn't want to let him get a surgery, blah, blah, blah. That was the old regime, you know what I mean? But I'm glad for Lowry, man. I'm a little bummed that it didn't work out with the Mets because I've always liked Lowry, a.k.a. cash game points, what we call him. But, yeah, I think Shoemaker's okay. It's a boost that we only have the 7-inning deal, right? Because, I mean, he's 7-7. They happen to go the distance, right? Okay. Taijuan Walker against the Cubs. Listen, man, Taijuan Walker's pitched well for the Mets so far. I think a lot of it, on a results basis. On a results basis, he's pitched well. I have some concerns. His strikeout rates look good. His swinging strike rates look good on a very small sample. He's shown some, not great signs to lefties. He's given up like a 62% ground ball line drive rate to lefties, 60% hard contact rate to lefties, and most importantly, he's walked 21% of lefties he's faced. So there's definitely some warning signs. The Cubs haven't looked so great. They did explode recently against the Braves at home. It's cold weather. It works both ways. I don't think I have the nuts to really pitch him much. The question is, do we want to pick on him? I guess I shouldn't really rule out pitching him as an SP2. On FanDuel, I don't see myself coming here with just one pitcher. But on DraftKings, could he get us there as an SP2 in the freezing cold? He could. He probably could. But the bigger question still is, do I want some Cubs exposure? And what makes me nervous, same thing it was with the Mets, is the weather. It's just really cold, wind blowing in, and more importantly, the chances that they are the top stack on the slate. That's what we have to think of. We have to think about it comparatively, right? Compare it to a lot of the other spots. Like, do I think this spot has more upside than the Rockies? And when you say it out loud, I guess it does, right? Because the Rockies just aren't a very good team. They do have cores going for them, but it's not a good team. These offenses you expect to be better on a neutral field. Ohtani's going to pitch today, but I think my understanding is he's only going to throw like 70 pitches. That was what I understood. DraftKings at 7.5. I mean, he could do some damage, and 70 pitches against the Rangers. FanDuel at 9K. No, thank you. But realistically, I don't think. I don't know, man. Ohtani 7,500. It could be 70 pitches. I mean, against the Rangers. The Rangers are not the same. I think the Rangers are improved this year. I do. But kind of tempting on DraftKings, especially if you like Ohtani, which I'm sure everybody does, right? Logan Webb, I'm not pitching this dude. Nah, not happening. I don't think he's like terrible. I don't know. I'm not saying that we want to stack against him for sure, but I'm not pitching him. No, I need upside. And this guy just don't have a whole ton of it. John Gray against Houston. Gray's look better. I'll give him that. Gray's look better. But has he really looked better? Or is it like a smoke and mirrors deal? Because last year he was pretty terrible. So far this year, despite how well he's played, he sells a 4.91 xFIP, only an 8.5% swing and strike rate, 10% walk rate. So I don't know, 250 BABIP I think has helped him out. I'm not sold that Gray is all of a sudden decent. I think Houston is just as viable. Curious to see where the ownership goes. When you think about teams like the Braves and Yankee Stadium, you're picking out some of these offenses. It really makes you think, right? With cores, like on FanDuel, cores is going to be crazy popular, right? Because there's less games, and like they don't have Taillon, the Braves Yankees game, one of the offenses, and there hasn't been a whole ton of offenses that have really stood out. So maybe like we were talking about the Mets and Cub stacks, right? Like that's probably something that we can wait more on FanDuel, right? Where we might need the help. But on DraftKings, I'm seeing the Braves standing out. I'm seeing obviously Coors is standing out. And on DraftKings, there are so many options that maybe Coors isn't as highly owned. Maybe. Here's another one. Patrick Corbin's been god-awful this season. I mean, bad. He's been real fucking bad. We attacked him last slate. Worked out beautifully for us. Do we go back to the well? The Cardinals kind of broke open the slate last night. Do they do it again? I don't see why not. Corbin's got like a 9.72 xFIP so far this season, a 14% K rate, 51% flat ball rate, 63% hard rate. He's been terrible. And not for nothing. I know, again, very small sample. I'm not trying to overreact to nothing. But the Cardinals have been ripping up lefties, man. Arenado, obviously, a lefty masher. Molina, DeJong, they've all had some success. So I think the Cardinals, once again, looking like a top option tonight. They're on both slates, too. That'll take some ownership away, or at least for us, give us some ownership somewhere else. But I think the Cardinals are a phenomenal stack today. Are they going to be popular because of what they did yesterday? Maybe. DeJong double-donged. But Corbin's been terrible. Again, ride the streak until we see otherwise. If he corrects himself today, we'll try to learn from it. Keep an eye out on his next start and try to adapt, see what we got to do. But right now, I mean, he's getting lit up every fucking time. He's been terrible. So, yeah, I mean, definitely interested in him. Rich Hill going up against the Rays. I'm not a huge Rich Hill guy, but he is very cheap. He does have strikeout upside, and he's playing a team that does strike out. Duffy just did really well yesterday. Is that going to lead us to believe that he's going to have similar success? Oh, I'm sorry. He's pitching for the Rays against Kansas City. My mistake. I read that totally backwards. Rich Hill pitching against Kansas City. Nah, I don't know. You know, it's a great park. Kansas City's not great. But they still got like Carlos Santana, 13% K rate. Whoop Merrifield, 6%. I guess you can argue everybody else in between is pretty bad. Taylor, 39%, Benintendi, 24%, Dozier, 30%, Soler, 26%, Perez. But at the same time, these are all lefty mashers like Soler, Sal P. So I don't necessarily, it's not the greatest spot in the world, but he is cheap. There's some temptation there. As far as stacking Kansas City, I might pick a couple one-offs. I don't think I want to use the full stack because the Rays bullpen is typically pretty good. So even if they don't get the hill, even if they get the hill, at some point you expect it to stop. Jordan Lyles against the Angels. Angels trolled everybody last night as the chalk. Lyles looks a little bit better this season, but I honestly think that if the Angels are going to come in somewhat low owned, and I think they will, simply because we have cores on DraftKings. You've already got a couple other offenses that stood out. On FanDuel, you still got the Cardinals, who I think will garner some. But Lyles, I still think is terrible. Like, he's been a little bit better this season. Still has a 5.53 xFIP. Listen, the Angels' offense hasn't been so great, but Mike Trout. They lose Ohtani's bat in the lineup. That's not great. That sucks, Mike Trout, Jared Walsh, Upton seems like he's heating up. Upton's another one of them dudes that you just want to play when he's hot. And really, man, that righties have actually done more damage to Lyles. It's true. Angel stack in play. Let's go. Luis Castillo against Arizona. Not a good part. I'm a big fan of Luis Castillo, and what he does is talent. He got lit up by the Giants, but he bounced back, man. Similar to what we said about Gausman yesterday, who did the dirty at his price. I think Castillo's a little too cheap, man. Talking about a guy who had almost a 60% ground ball rate last season, 30.5% K rate, 14.9 or 15% swing and strike rate, whatever it was. Now he's playing a D-backs team that can be very stubborn, very tough to strike out, and seems to be kind of heating up a little bit. They also have a lot of lefties. Rojas, Calhoun, Peralta, Asdrubal Cabrera, Escobar, Pavin Smith if they elect to play him. It's not the best strikeout matchup. But I think the upside that the pitcher himself brings in combination with the DraftKings price of 6.6 is a little too good for me to pass up on. I think I will be playing a good amount of Castillo. You can see the green right here, how well he projects relative to his price. We have him graded as the highest point per dollar option on DraftKings. He's not on FanDuel, on DraftKings. So yes, I will be playing some Luis Castillo. If I end up going heavy on Castillo, I will hedge with some D-back stacks, because if that fails me, it's going to fail horribly, right? Like if that fails me, it's going to be like what the Giants did. They're going to hit like 5 home runs, and that's how it's going to go ugly. I don't really see too much of a middle ground here because he's 6'6". So how bad, for it to be that bad at 6'6", he must have really gotten lit up. But I lean towards the Castillo side for sure. Tyler Anderson against Detroit. I think this game's got some legitimate weather concerns. Yeah, so Kevin Roth just writes LOL nope with a red. So very unlikely this game takes place. I'll skip it. Wainwright against the Nationals. I'm not a big Wainwright dude. I'm just not. I don't think he's that good. But I think he's learned. I think he's adjusted, and he's learned how to pitch a little bit better to contact. Right? He's trying to keep his career alive. He's changing. He's adapting, which I respect. I do respect that. I do. I still don't think he's very good. He's playing a Nationals team that could be very stubborn. He's going to see a pretty good amount of lefties. But to be honest with you, on a contact basis, he's actually been a little bit better to lefties. 51% ground ball rate to lefties opposed to 36 to righties. Nats are in play. I don't think I play Wainwright. Nats aren't really a high strikeout. There's not enough upside that I see there. Right? I just don't know if I want to attack him either, though. Although I'll always play Juan Soto, no doubt. No doubt. Fulmer, gonna skip him. Matt Harvey, the Dark Knight against Miami. This game is in Miami too, so Harvey gets a little bit of a park boost. Let's check on old Matt Harvey, man. If you're a Met fan, you gotta give Harvey his due, man. He gave you everything he had. The couple of years he was healthy and elite, he gave you everything he had. Pitched more than he should have coming off that injury in the playoffs, and just has been horrible ever since. But he's trying his best to revive his career. His ground ball rates have been good so far in the early going. There's no way I'm pitching Matt Harvey. The question is, do we want to attack Matt Harvey? The Marlins have not been good against righties this year. I mean, they've not been good against righties in a while anyway, but they've really not been good against righties. Matt Harvey's going to throw a lot of sliders to righties. So the question is, can Miami hit the slider? And I'm not so certain they can. I think some guys can, but I'm not so certain that as a team they can. I'm probably going to lean towards stacking Miami. I'm probably going to lean towards that because the numbers were so atrocious. If this game was in Baltimore, I would definitely be stacking Miami. Only reason I'm even hesitant is because the game is in Miami and it's a really good pitching park, as you can see. I think I'm going to try. I'm going to try to attack Harvey. I have to. And these numbers, again, guys, are from last year. He didn't pitch much last year because he came up, got shellacked, and that was it. So far, he's actually pitched decent. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to what he's been doing. Let me see here. Yeah, so, well, I guess he hasn't been that good. 2 earned runs against Boston, 4 earned runs, and then 2 earned runs against Seattle. But he's throwing 80-something pitches. But for him, though, for what we've seen from him, that's actually not bad. Again, Seattle gave up a home run, 2 earned runs. That was at home in Baltimore, right? 4 earned runs against Boston. That was at home in Baltimore. Not as bad as things could have been, but I'll stack some Miami. Nick Neidert, another one that I just don't see anything in his numbers that tells me we shouldn't attack him, but he's just not getting beat up, and it's been driving me crazy. His batting average balls and plays not low either. It's just a result thing, right? 6.24 xFIP going back to last season, which he didn't really play last season, so that's mostly this year. But the results haven't really been there. Nick Neidert, where you at, bruh? Where you at, bruh? So, against the Mets, 1 earned run and 4 1/3, 85 pitches, 3 Ks. Against Atlanta, 3 earned runs, 1 home run, 4 walks. 4 walks and 5 walks. He walks a ton of people. 3 Ks. This guy likes to walk people. Baltimore is not the most patient team, but they got some patient guys. I think we lean towards the offenses and say, fuck it. Low ownership. Both offenses. Last year, these teams had bad bullpens. Maybe it's different this year. We haven't seen a big enough sample to see how they're doing. I think we stack both offenses and say, fuck it. This is DraftKings only game, though. Brad Keller had a decent year last year. He's the one playing the Rays. Not a big strikeout guy, but the Rays can help with that. The Rays can strike out with the best of them. Let's take a look at the profiles, if you will. Keller didn't really show a ton of splits. He walked more lefties last year, but the splits were fairly neutral on a results basis. We know Keller is a big sinker guy to righties, and then he throws his slider to both lefties and righties. The Rays have not hit the sinker well historically. They have hit the slider, but there's also a lot of on a power basis. Also, I don't know. I don't think I'm really interested in Keller, but I'm not that interested in the Rays either. Keller is really cheap. It's just we have other pitchers like Luis Castillo, 6'6". You know what I mean? Maybe that bites me in the ass. I don't know. Anyway, we've done it. We've gotten through this massive 13 slate, whatever. 13 game slate. I'm sorry, I was looking at the chat at the same time. Shout out to Solid Picks. So CK, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you guys hanging out watching, man. Do this, and it's good to have people watch and hang out with me while we break down the slate. So I appreciate y'all. Tony A, Twins lineup could be weak with COVID issues. It definitely could. And after seeing that it's a 7-inning game, it definitely boosts Mania a little bit, for sure. Tony A, you pitching Corbin? Corbin Burns? I think you were referencing Patrick Corbin. Definitely not pitching him. We'll be stacking. Corbin Burns I will be. Zone a good leverage. I think they could be, man, because I do think I like Luis Castillo on the first look, right? And I talked about his price. I'm sure other people are going to see the same shit. And if they want to pitch Corbin Burns or pay up for anyone, and they still want to play cores, they're going to have to find a cheap guy. You know what I mean? Top stacks right now. So I'm just going to give it overall. I like the Braves a lot. I like the Braves. I like I like the Angels. I think that they could be an interesting bounce back spot, right? And then I'll go with do I want to go Rockies or Astros? I'll go Rockies reluctantly, but the Astros are right there. Those are probably my favorites at the moment. But I'll have the final version of my article, including who I think. I'll explain the leverage section and all that shit. Best value pitcher right now for me, it has to be Luis Castillo on DraftKings, 6'6". Now, again, if he gets popular, it's going to make me nervous because we know the D-backs don't really strike out a ton, right? This year, they were striking out a lot beginning of the season, but that's been cooling out a little bit. So I'll have to see. Again, I'll throw in my final pitching pool in the article. But for now, it's probably Castillo on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I just don't see anybody that drives me really gets me excited enough to not play Corbin Burnes over there. I mean, you got Chris Paddock, who's going to be the absolute chalk on FanDuel. I think FanDuel leverage stack is Milwaukee. DraftKings leverage stack could very well end up being the D-backs, depending on how it goes, right? But anyway, Nation, I appreciate y'all hanging out. Top 3 pitchers, Corbin Burnes definitely number 1. I'm gonna go with Luis Castillo number 2. That price has a lot to do with that, but also talent, man. He's just talented, and I don't think I have a third just yet, man. I was tempted to go with Shohei Ohtani on DraftKings at 7.5, but the 70 pitch thing bothers me. It bothers me because we have so many pitchers, so you just feel like there's got to be. I'll go Charlie Morton for now. Yankees have been cold. I'll go Charlie Morton for now. Dangerous as fuck, but I'll go Charlie Morton for now. Anyway, guys, please hit the like button on your way out. Please share the show as much as you can. As many people we can get watching the show will improve the show, improve our numbers, improve our revenue, will allow us to put more back into the products, get more tools, all these great things we're trying to do. The cards, Tony, I forgot, man. Yeah, the cards are probably my favorite right now. Oh, shit, I can't believe I skipped over them. So, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. The Cardinals against Patrick Corbin. Cardinals number 1. Braves number 2. I like Coors. And I like the Angels right now. There you go. Shout out to you, Tony. I appreciate the participation. And, yeah, man, totally forgot about the Cardinals. Yeah, absolutely like the Cardinals for sure against Mr. Corbin. Anyway, hit the like button on your way out. Appreciate y'all. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.